Okay, so I'm gonna start a little bit early, like just 1 minute early, just to get like the pre-lecture stuff out of the way. So, hello everybody, welcome and thank you for joining us to the second lecture of the NAR Golden Bahamut Summer UCOB event. Just a bit of housekeeping first. We will be recording this lecture, and it will be made public for you to view after. And then our event staff, helpers, and volunteers and whatnot will be helping in the little text channel in this voice chat. If you click on the little chat icon beside the voice channel, you'll be able to see the text channel. If there is something that our event staff would like to highlight, we encourage our staff to chime in. So yes, boy, there's a text channel. And we highly encourage you to go into PF to Prague outside of the official PFs too, because in Ultimates, consistency is key. You need to just go in there and get reps, get consistent with it in order to be able to prog. So just doing our official parties usually isn't enough. So definitely recommend trying to just join a random party if you have time, if you want to, of course. And then please continue studying and watching VODs and asking questions. We like the engagement and make us feel that we're really making a difference, you know. Let's see what else. And please study the mitigations. It is available at tinyurl.com/ucobmidi. There will be a sheet for each and every role and a recommended mid sheet. Of course, you are not required to follow this 100%, but I highly recommend it. It's been tried and true, tested. So yeah, go study it and try to learn it by heart if you can. If you need a visual mit sheet, there is a little cheat sheet on the top left here, where you click on it. It gives you a little cheat sheet of each phase, tells you what to do. And let's get this show on the road. So we last left off at Nael and Rage ish. We ended with the dive bombs, right? So after dive bombs, there's gonna be 2 quotes, and then when you kill her, get her to 1%, she will transition to Bahamut phase. So I'm just going to play this Tessan video real quick to explain what's happening first. I'm gonna lower it a bit. Okay, I'm gonna stop this here real quick. I just want to mention that we will be heavily using Tessan's guide for this lecture. So please watch through Tessan's guide real quick, or even like on your own time, because they're a help to us, and also we don't want to just leech off of them and just like show it through this VOD too. So anyway, normally what would happen in a clean run usually is that you usually have LB2, so you would usually need to heal through this on a clean run. In addition to that, LB2 will have a slightly different timing than LB3. If you see here, I press LB2 right before we get knocked back. And since there are 3 hits, you're going to have to press Shake or Veil before the last hit, because the last hit is going to be the big damage, right? But if you have percent mits like Dark Knight and Gunbreaker, you can easily just press them beforehand. So next thing is for LB3 timing. This is a little bit of scuffed run, but don't worry about that real quick. You will press LB3 as you get knocked back. And it'll just cover the last couple hits when you press it there. So I'm going to continue on playing through Quick March. Just a heads up, Tessan's guide shows the EU strat, and I will be pausing beforehand just to remind you guys that it will be EU strat, but the guide is still nice for explanations on what's happening beforehand.
Towards relative north, while the 3 DPS with Mega Flare stack will stack up relative south of Bahamut. The tank.
I'm going to pause this here real quick. This strat is not NA strats. I will go over NA strats real quick once I let this play through, but just watch this real quick for now.
Should wait for the stack to go off before picking up any Tempest Wing tether on the DPS, then position in front of the healers on Bahamut's hitbox. After the mechanic is resolved, Bahamut will use another Flare Breath and Flatten before casting Blackfire Trio and disappearing, starting the second big mechanic.
Okay. So that's a good stopping point for now. And remember, I said that this strat is EU strats, so we'll proceed on to going to NA strats. For now, let's go to the Naur website, and I'll just guide you through how to navigate it real quick. So you go to naurffxiv.com, click on Ultimate, click on whatever ultimate you want, and then here there's a little table of contents. You can scroll down, and then we want to see the Quick March rate plan. So we just click on that. Here, first 3 slides are the same, so I'm not going to really go over those. Like, it's just finding a new relative north, dodging the twister, baiting the Mega Flare puddle, and moving in. The 4th slide is where it actually differs, where we make a little bit of an X formation instead of a plus formation in the EU strat. In this strat, we have the healers northwest and northeast relative to where the dives came from, and the DPS Mega Flare stack southwest. The DPS Earthshaker will be southeast, so do take note of this. And then the tanks can just stand in front of the healers with their Earthshakers. Sorry. And then ideally, after the Tempest Wings, the tank with aggro will face the Flare Breath north, away from the healers, instead of directly on the healer, like so. So that'll minimize movement for the healers, and they don't have to dodge out of the way.
probably find one.
Yeah, I'm sure we have one of.
So I'm gonna show my POV as a warrior real quick. So Bahamut's catching Quickmarch Trio. He is about to be untargetable. As soon as he's untargetable, I try to find where the dragons are diving from. This is our new relative north. In this case, it's going to be, south is going to be our new relative north. So I head into position accordingly. I am the L1 tank, so I'll be going left and be closest to the dragons. At the same time as the dives, there's going to be a twister that's going to happen. So as soon as you see the dive, move. And then also, after the dives, you're going to be baiting Mega Flare puddles on the floor. You don't want to drop these center because the healers need to be center. So you should wait a little bit before moving in. A little bit after these Mega Flare puddles are baited, there's also going to be Mega Flare spreads on the supports and on the healers and DPS. So do still stay spread out a little bit, but not so far that you miss all the heals. So the healers are going to come center. DPS are going to head into their position. I'm going to just chill up here for a bit, waiting for the DPS stack to go off. At the same time, I'm going to press my mitt and then intercept the Tempest Wing from the healers or anybody else who has the tether, actually. And then if you're feeling a little, ambitious, you can try to dodge the Earthshaker damage too. It is not necessary though. If you're worried about hitting the DPS with the Tempest Wing, you can simply just stand in front of a healer's Earthshaker as long as you have the Tempest Wing already, and you'll be fine. It's just a little bit of extra to help your healers. So once the Earthshakers go off, I dodge into it, and then face the boss north for the Flare Breath to minimize movement for my healers. And now I take the remaining 2 busters, the Flare Breath and the Flatten. And then the next thing is Blackfire, which we haven't got to yet. I'm going to go through a little bit more VODs real quick. So let's go for a healer perspective. Quick March happens. It's important to note that this should be pre-shielded. Here you can see Ola pre-shields here and pre-mits. You can mit as you're running out. In this case, she is R2. So remember, there's a twister with this. They bait the puddle. Make sure to stay spread and move in to heal. Then you only move out. Since she is R2, she is northeast healer.
Hey, seeing things, or is the Reaper consistently going to like L4?
And then she dodges sideways because the tanks are going to take the Tempest Wings on the boss. If she moves in here, she's going to get hit by the Tempest Wings. And then the tank will face it north to leave the movement. And there's also going to be busters. So make sure to watch your tank's HP and make sure they have enough HP to take those busters with mitt. Next one, I like to show the off-tank's perspective. So here she is R1, bait the twister, and bait the puddles. Wait before the DPS stack, intercept the tether, and then move to a safe spot away from the DPS. And then give your mitt to your buddy, Reprisal, and Hardaga Corundum, or whatever it is. Again, another tank POV. This is a different tether configuration. So here, both tethers go onto this, the off tank. So they have to intercept it from the off tank too, where both of them are on top of each other. Let me rewind it real quick. So both of them are on top of each other. This can happen because it's on the healer, right? So be aware that they can both be on top of each other. And Flourish got a little lucky here, where she kind of ran in between both Earthshakers and then get hit by both. Try not to do that. You can be a little faster in order to not get hit by both, and in this case, she did get lucky, so she didn't have anything to worry about. But if you overlap the two Earthshakers, you will probably die. Last one here is another VOD of a different POV. Find the dragons. Dodge a twister. Bait the Mega Flare puddle. Move in, wait for the DPS stack. Find the tether. And then eat it at a safe spot. I have also prepared another VOD for the DPS too. It's a little bit of a bird's eye view. That may help. And this is a recording of like the duty, so it's not actually gameplay, so so find the relative north. In this case it's actually north. Dodge a twister, bait it outside. You can see that the 3 DPS here. Sorry, give me one moment. 3 DPS here. 1, 2, and 3. They get the Mega Flare stack. While this last person, the summoner, down here, doesn't have anything. This will be marked as the Earthshaker, along with the 2 healers. And then these 2 tanks, of course, just intercept the Tempest Wing. So I'm gonna let it play through. The 3 Mega Flare stacks will go southwest relative to New North, while this person, the Earthshaker DPS, will be southeast. And then again, healers move in to heal and then move back out, while the tanks wait for the DPS stack and take the Tempest Wings. And I just want to drive home the fact that the dives can be from anywhere. So just real quick, have this VOD. Here they spawn northwestish. I'm just gonna readjust my camera just to show you that everything is just done relative to those dives. Again, southwest relative to the dives is where the DPS Mega Flare stack is. Southeast is the DPS Earthshaker. Northwest and northeast is the healer Earthshakers. And this Gunbreaker doesn't really move for the healer, so if the healer didn't move that much, they will be blasted. So try not to do this. Most healers usually move out the way, but like try to just let them not move too much, basically. Okay, so let's go back to Tessan's guide. I think we're at a good point to move on to Blackfire.
The bosses will spawn in a triangle formation outside the arena, and you need to stack in the middle. Upon spawning, Bahamut will lock in on a player to dive. Twintanya will start spinning liquid hell puddles on a random player in the party, and you need to start moving towards Nael without sprint. Nael will always be clockwise from Bahamut and counterclockwise from Twintanya. After a brief moment, a random player will be targeted for a thermionic beam, and Bahamut will dive. When the stack resolves, 4 Mega Flare towers will spawn on the intercardinals relative to Nael's position, and a healer, a tank, as well as 2 DPS will be selected for Mega Flare stacks. When the final liquid hell resolves, the DPS will split off to the left facing Nael, and the rest to the right. To deal with this final part, the Mega Flare stacks will converge at the start of the puddles, and the other players will take towers. Tanks will prioritize the towers closest to Nael, and the healers will prioritize the ones further away. The DPS will simply jump to indicate which tower they are taking. While resolving the Mega Flare stacks and towers, Nael will throw out Hypernovas that will linger for a while. So make sure to wait for 2 outgoing Hypernovas before soaking your tower to make sure you don't cover the towers in depth. Bahamut will reappear in the middle, cast a Giga Flare, then proceed to target the main threat for a triple Flare Breath before preparing Fellruin Trio.
Here, Tessan's guide is pretty much one-to-one with NA, so there's not much to go over there for differences. The only differences is pretty much in our mid plan with the busters after. So I'm just going to go over some more bots real quick to walk you guys through this. This is as a DPS. Okay, first off, the bosses go away. He spins his camera around to find Nael, and now he's found it. So you would stutter step about 2 liquid hells. 1, 2, and then wait for the stack, and then keep moving. DPS break left, while supports break right, facing Nael. At this point, he'll check whether his character has the Mega Flare stack or not. It's kind of a low quality, but you can kind of see it still, these things on his character. In this case, he doesn't have anything, so he knows he's a tower player. In NA, you can either jump or you just move towards the tower you're taking to indicate that you want to take that tower. Before taking a tower, though, remember that there is going to be 2 Hypernovas that you have to wait for before moving in. You can also just wait for 1, and moving in is just fine. But either or, you just have to wait for it, and you can't stand it to begin with. After taking the tower, everybody should try to move in closer to the center to catch all the heals. If you stay too far out, you might die to the Giga Flare from no healing. And also, in NA, we try to keep the boss facing where it is already. So if you're at the face of the boss, try to move away from the face of the boss. Sometimes it's unavoidable if like you have to hardcast a res and it's an emergency, but do be aware of that though. Let's go to a tank spot next. So bosses go away. She's finding Nael. She will break right because she is a support. She's gonna check whether she's a tower or a Mega Flare stack, and she's a tower. So tanks always take closer to Nael. And then she's moving in. Notice the mitts she's pressed this year. She is the off tank, so she's going to take this upcoming triple flare breaths. So she's starting to press all her mitts before the Giga Flare cast. Because the Giga Flare cast hurts, but the most important thing to take away as an off tank is that you should press your 30% or 2-minute CD before the Giga Flare cast, so it's back up for a later phase. And again, she's making sure to try to keep it facing where it's already facing, just to reduce confusion. Of course, if you need to, you can pull the boss a little farther, or just turn it if there's really no choice. But again, try to keep it facing the same way to reduce confusion. Let's go on to the next one. I'm gonna make this a little larger. Okay. Here, healing can be pretty hectic.
Right, how you have so much HP, hacker?
So she's finding Nael first, stutter stepping for 2 hits. And here, the party takes a lot of damage, more than half of their HP with mitts. So you have to prepare instants as a healer. In this case, she's a sage, and also there's an astro. So we those 2 jobs basically have all the instants in the world to deal with this. So it's pretty safe. If you're on white mage and or scholar, you need to prepare ahead of time. Maybe save a swift cast, maybe a size if you want to. Just be sure to prepare mitts ahead of time and healing that you can use while you're moving. And she's finding what she is. She's a tower player again. Here you'll see that the stack players took about half their HP. This is with a lot of mitt. So do be cognizant that there is quite a bit of damage going on here without a lot of opportunity to cast. And then again here, you want to move into the center to start casting heals on everybody. You want to move into the center because some people are going to be a little far. So you have like 1 or 2 GCDs to cast heals on everybody before the Giga Flare happens. And just a quick note, the Giga Flare snapshots at the end of the cast. So if you apply shields after the cast ends, it's still not going to catch. Okay. That's Blackfire. So we can move on to Fellruin. And just a heads up with Fellruin, due to the way EU places their markers, it's going to be different from how they resolve the mechanic from ours. They put theirs in an inverted triangle position where it's northwest, northeast, and south. On NA, it's north, southwest, and southeast. So the dragon's positioning will be a little bit different here, but I'm going to play through this section just because it's still a good explanation of what's happening.
All 3 bosses will spawn in the middle in a triangle formation, and the party will want to look for Nael since she will be doing a triple quote mechanic. This quote can be one of 2 variants. It will either be Raven's Dive into Lunar Dynamo, then Meteor Stream, or Lunar Dynamo into Raven's Dive into Meteor Stream. Regardless of the pattern, the party will deal with 2 spreads and 1 donut AoE. While Nael is performing her quote mechanic, the party will also have to deal with Twintanya's Etheric Profusion and Bahamut's 2 Tempest Wing Tethers. Identify Nael's quote to find out if it starts with Hallowed Moon or Descend, and resolve it accordingly. Use Twin and Bahamut's position as the new north, and use standard quick march positions for spread. It is possible to have 1 healer stay in the Neuralink to make the spread easier. Regardless if Hallowed Moon is first or second, when it does happen, the party should stack tightly under Nael to make the tethers easy for the tanks to take. Since the tethers come from Bahamut, the tanks just have to stack together between the party and Bahamut to pick both up. Taking the tethers during the spread can be very risky. Twintanya will next cast Etheric Profusion, which can only be survived by standing in a Neuralink. So the party will gather up in the Neuralink close to Nael, and each tank will take one of the other 2 closest to their spread position. Nael will finish off the mechanic with her Meteor Stream. The Tempest Wings will resolve at the same time as Etheric Profusion, so make sure the tanks are healthy. Also, have them use Sprint. The timing is tight if Dynamo is last. Bahamut will follow up with another raid-wide Giga Flare to end Fellruin Trio, followed by a Flare Breath into flattened combo on the tank, and finally, another Flare Breath.
Okay, so again, this Fellruin strat is going to be different in NA, so definitely I'm going to go over what's different. But there's a few key takeaways, is that there's going to be two different quotes from Nael. It's going to be spread, in, then spread, or in, spread, then spread. There's going to be an etheric profusion between the second and third part. And this etheric profusion can only be taken within a Neuralink. If you are outside of a Neuralink when the etheric perfusion happens, then you will die. So let's go over the raid plan real quick for NA. These are the Neuralinks, these little googly eye thingies, right? So it can be either in then spread, or spread then in. The way I read this is I search for descend, or moon and descend. In this case, moon comes first, then descend, so I know that it's in then spread. And then the last one will always be spread, which is a rain of stars. Likewise, descend first and then moon. So it's going to be spread then into Nael after. A quick note is that NA treats Bahamut as New North. So you can see that we do kind of a loose spread in front of Bahamut around the center. That is a key difference between NA and Tessan's guide, where they spread around Nael, but in NA we should spread around the middle. This is also kind of a not of a strict spread, so you can kind of have someone in the center if you want, shift people left and right if you want to. Just try to be spread around the center. If you are spread too far, you will make the tanks have to haul ass to their Neuralink. Like, if Nael jumps to this wall over here, this tank, the R1 tank, will have to go run really far. Anyway, let's just go through this real quick. Oh, and another key takeaway is that during the tanks should be in front of the party. So the party should also try to be a little back so that the tanks can intercept the tether. So let's go through a VOD real quick. Here I find Nael. I find her quotes. Descend moon. So it's going to be spread first, then in. So you try to spread around center. Again, this is kind of a not really a strict spread. You can kind of just shift people around a little bit, but try to stick to the priority, especially the tanks. I'll go over that later. So once Nael dives, it's going to be an in quote. And we'll see that Bahamut is over here. He's the New North. So the Neuralink that the party is supposed to go in will always be opposite of Bahamut. In this case, it will be on 1. So after this hallowed moon, which is in, the party will run towards 1 for the etheric perfusion. And then there's going to be another spread after. You can see that this Dragoon immediately elusives after the etheric perfusion snapshots towards the boss.
The party.
As a melee, it is quite important to be in a predictable spot. If you are in a ranged spot over here, you may cause panic between some people. So again, if you're spreading, be predictable. I cannot emphasize how important that is. There's so many melee that try to be in a ranged spot because they're playing safe and then end up killing another person because they're in an unexpected spot. And as soon as the spreads go off, the melee, if they're on the opposite side of the hitbox, should move in for heals. There is another alternative spot that makes this a little safer for the melee that has to go across, but I will go over that later. Let's go through a healer's perspective.
Right?
Let's see. Give me one moment. Let me make this larger. So I'm also going to go over quotes. So first, find Nael. Here we see that it is moon, then descend. So it's going to be in her first and then spread. After we find Nael and realize what her quote is, we also find Bahamut and treat that as our new north. Bahamut's opposite is 1, so our party Neuro will be 1. So we go in first. And then at this point, you should lock in that your party Neuro is 1. Just keep track of it. Don't forget about it. after the in, you want to spread towards your Neuralink to give yourself as much time as possible to get back in after the spread. So spread here, and then move back into the Neuralink. Healers need to be cognizant that this etheric perfusion will hurt a lot. So be sure to mitt and heal as soon as it happens. In this case, they are pre-applying shields before the etheric perfusion, and then reapplying shields after, in addition to mitt. And then usually, shield healers will spread center of the arena here, while the regen healer will stay in the Neuralink with everybody else going in their rough quick march positions. So again, a Giga Flare after the spread. So this is why, like, there's a lot of damage going out. Etheric Perfusion, spreads, and Giga Flare. Also, Shield Healer being center of the arena is not a hard prio. You can discuss with your co-healer before the pool, but generally this is the priority I've experienced without anybody saying anything. Also, I just want to note that the tank is going to take a tank buster immediately after this Giga Flare. If they get unlucky with getting crit by the boss with the boss's crit autos, they may drop down very low, especially if it wasn't mitt properly. So be cognizant of your tank whenever the Giga Flare happens. Okay, let's move on to the next VOD. This will be a tank VOD, and this should be L1. So first, I find Nael. This is a pretty bad... Okay, there we go. I find Nael, and I find what quote she's saying. Descend and Moon. So it's going to be spread first, then into Nael. I find Bahamut, and I spread towards Bahamut. I walk over to Nael and then intercept the tether, making sure to be in front of the party. I go into my Neuralink. In this case, since I'm L1, I will be the Neuralink left of Bahamut facing him. And then I just stay in the Neuralink until it goes off. And then I make space for the melee for spreads, and then come back in for a little bit of heals. But I am the main tank, so I'm going to take a Flare Breath after this Giga Flare. Once I get my heals back in the center, I'll move back out.
Okay.
And then I'll take the Flare Breath and a bunch of other busters, which is a Flatten and another Flare Breath. I'll let this play out. Okay. So let's go on to the next POV. Here is the off-tank's POV.
The puddle for a reason. It's on the air to go over.
Find Nael, read the quotes, and then spread.
Success may vary.
Find Bahamut. She is R1, so she's going towards 1. Intercept the tether. Go towards 1. Mitt herself. Just with a short. Make space for the melee. And reprisal. All the Giga Flares hurt. So there should be ideally a reprisal on each and every one of them. Consult the mitt sheet if needed. If you mitt during Fellruin, you will have your short mitts, buddy mitts, up for your co-tank during this. So be sure to give your co-tank some love because they're taking 3 busters, especially the Flatten. Okay. Fellruin Trio, that's done. Now it's the last one of this prog week.
The next mechanic is Heaven's Fall Trio, and will once again lead to Bahamut becoming untargetable after the cast finishes. The party will stack in the middle to bait incoming dives from a random spot around the arena.
Okay, I'm gonna pause this real quick and mention that there's a slight difference in how this is people will be positioned. I'll show it after, but I'll just let this play out first.
Much like in Quick March, this involves spreading to set positions, but the pattern looks a little different. In this case, Nael will not dive, and the other 2 will dive through the points in the middle. This will create different safe zones depending on where Nael is, and the pattern as well as positions will be as such. Both Twintanya's and Bahamut's dives will lock in as soon as the markers appear, so move as soon as you see them. Just like in Quick March, when the dragons dive, twisters will spawn and you will have to rotate in towards the center of the arena. The next step involves Mega Flare puddles that you have to dodge. 8 randomly placed tower soaks at the edge of the arena, as well as the Heaven's Fall Tower from Phase 2. To deal with this properly, dodge the puddles and get ready to count towers. Right players will count towers 1 to 4 clockwise from Nael, and the left players will do the same counterclockwise from Nael. A tower on Nael is always right 1. After you figure out which tower you need, line up to get knocked into it by the Heaven's Fall Tower. You want to be in line with the waymarks to not take too much damage. After the towers have been soaked, 2 cone AoEs will be telegraphed from the Heaven's Fall Tower. These gradually start to move clockwise or counterclockwise. One player gets targeted by a fireball stack, while Nael will throw out hypernovas on random players as before. To solve this, we will have the players identify where the first 2 cone AoEs are pointing and wait in between those 2. Once the direction has been exposed, the players should start circling in while chasing the AoE in front of them. Upon reaching the middle, and once the Heaven's Fall Towers have disappeared, the Fireball stack will resolve before Bahamut casts another Giga Flare. Bahamut will then proceed to cast a triple Flare Breath.
So now that we've gone over it, let's go over the differences, which is very minor. There's only differences in the initial dodges. So this would be the same where Nael is in the center. Remember that Nael doesn't dive. So L1 and R1, the tanks, would go towards Nael, while L4 and R4 would go opposite of Nael, creating a 2-2-2-2 little section for each save zone. However, this is where the differences begin. So we have our tanks always go towards Nael, or rather L1 and R1 always go towards Nael, and L4 and R4 always go opposite of Nael. So this is the left Nael on the left, where both tanks are here, and then both range are here. L2, L3, and R2, R3 will still go left and right of the bosses as normal, so those don't really change. But just be cognizant, this is how NA would do this. Sometimes if people are slow, they still need to commit to one side, so be prepared that there may be more than 4 people on each side. But generally, try to keep to this priority, of course. So let's go over a VOD real quick here. I believe this person is R4? Let me go through my notes real quick. Yes, he is R4. So first off, he finds where the dragons are coming from. The quality is a little bit low, but... And since he's R4, he's going to go opposite of Nael. And he's going to be offset a little bit to the right because he's R4. Dodge the Twister. Bait the Mega Flare puddle. Start counting his towers. Again, he's R4, so he is going to be 4 from Nael. And whatever tower is on their Nael is going to be R1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be the tower he takes. The distance from the center to the waymark is about the safe distance to get knocked back, and also the safe distance from the proximity damage. So try to imagine there's like a little circle, a safe circle to simulate that there's a safe distance there. Gets knocked back, eats the tower. You do have a second to adjust. Now, the pizza slices appear. You can either dodge over here and run away accordingly, or you can do a 2-to-1 dodge. The 2-to-1 dodge is fairly lenient, so you have a lot of time. You can see the timing here. But anything after the 2-to-1 is going to be quite dangerous. So if you cannot commit to a 2-to-1, definitely try just to dodge this, like this person on the left side. Once you've dodged the pizza slices, there's going to be hypernovas at the same time too. Try to spiral in slowly, making your way towards the center, dodging hypernovas in the way. And then there's going to be a stack. Put the stack directly center under the boss. And then once again, there's going to be triple flares after this, so be cognizant. The tanks are going to try to keep it facing where it already is. Okay, let's move on to the next VOD. This is Gunbreaker VOD. She should be R1. So, before Heaven's Fall happens, make sure that you only evoke after the Flare Breath. So it's, remember, after Fellruin is going to be Flare Breath, Flatten, Flare Breath. You don't want to evoke too early because you may risk chance of blasting other people unexpectedly, or you just dying to damage because you didn't expect to take that Flare Breath. If you are worried, you can always evoke on the Heaven's Fall cast. Here. The boss won't turn, and also you will safely like establish aggro, of course. But anyway, she's going center. She's finding the dragons. She's R1, so she goes towards Nael. They dive, and she dodges a twister. She baits the puddle, finds her tower. Remember, she is R1, so her tower is north and on Nael or clockwise. The first one clockwise of Nael. She finds a safe distance, and she gets knocked back into the tower. There's a second to adjust. Now she looks for the pizza slice. And she positions herself for a 2-to-1, but it goes away from her, so she doesn't need to do that. Again, spiral in slowly, baiting the hypernovas away, and then moving in to center for a stack. Again, she is the off tank, so she is going to take this triple flare breaths. Try to keep it facing away as much as possible. If there's another person away, again, you can pull it away, or you can, at worst, just face it away. But try not to kill anybody, of course, at the end of the day. Okay, here we go. Next one is a healer VOD. There is some damage going out during Heaven's Fall. It's backloaded, so just pre-shield here. This is a good spot for a spread low. Dodge a twister. Count the tower. You see here there's a big gap. Don't panic. Just keep spinning your camera and just walking towards where your camera is facing, because eventually you'll get to your tower. Again, this is a big gap, so Ola has to run far in order to get knocked back, but there is a lot of time still. Take the tower, find the pizza slices, and dodge accordingly. Here, the party is usually low, but we have 2 shield healers, and we did a spread low before, so we also had like a lot of AoE heals. So people are usually topped off, or people were topped off in this VOD, but usually people are going to be low. Be cognizant that when you get to this point, this near the little Ragnarok in the center, which is the little tower thing, piece of Dalamud, try to heal up as you can. Everybody should also be close to get heals. And once again, as soon as the Ragnarok, the Dalamud piece in the center goes away, move in for the stack. And then you will have to re-heal again and re-shield for the Giga Flare. Likewise, just be cognizant of where the boss is facing, or where the off tank is in this case. They're going to take a triple flare breath, so watch their HP. that's about it for this week's goal. I'm going to go over some recovery things real quick in some of the trios. So I'm going to start off with Quickmarch Trio real quick. Okay, here Quickmarch, the dragons go away. Find the new north, dodge towards your area. However, you see that there are 6 people here. People are going to the wrong side, but they're committing because committing is the best choice rather than eating the dive and almost assuredly dying if they eat the dive. So if people go the wrong way, they should just commit. Now it creates a little bit of a more difficult situation for the people who are supposed to be on that side, though, because there are more people than planned. But you can still do this, obviously. Remember, with the dive, there's going to be a twister. So just when you dodge a twister, you try to move in a direction that won't run into the path of someone else, thereby dodging their twister. See, you can see here this healer. I'm gonna roll it back a little bit. Oh. Oops, went too far. I forgot this was a VOD, not a clip. So, again, find the dragons. This is our new north. There are 6 people on the right side on accident. Watch this healer here on the far right side. They purposefully do a little hook around to dodge the healer's possible twist, the other healer's possible twister. And another thing to note is that this healer tries to move over as fast as they can to keep the spreads after this a little cleaner, but they end up dropping a Mega Flare puddle in the center. So be cognizant that can happen too. Just move out of the way, and again, they're coming back in for heals. Now, a very important thing for tanks to know is that you want to wait for the DPS Mega Flare stack to go off. If you do not wait, this is what will happen. They take the Mega Flare stack and they're going to take full damage from the stack. So they end up dying, so wait before intercepting the tether. You have time to intercept the tether and dodge into the safe side, so do not worry. So here, this was kind of the best case scenario where Azula took the tether and Callie had the other tether. If it was on the DPS, there's a chance that the tether would have gone off while everybody was stacked together, resulting in 3 or more deaths. In this case, it only resulted in 1. I would like to say though, if in the case it goes on a DPS, or rather, if the tank dies and is unable to intercept their tether, try to scatter like ants to minimize the amount of deaths. In this case, you can see Foy immediately going away to minimize the number of deaths, especially since he is a red mage. I don't know if it's easy to see. It's probably hard to see here, but he is a red mage and he can res. So it is important that he saves himself first to res other people. And you can see here, one of the healers died. So Azula, I think she wasn't supposed to take this buster, so she also took a lot of damage from the Tempest Swing and the Flare Breath. Now she's about to take the flatten with about little less than half her HP. She made the split-second decision to press Super Bull-Eyed. It's a little hard to see, so I'll blow it up, but here. She is about to die, and she made the split-second decision to Bull-Eyed. That is, using Bull-Eyed in an emergency is generally a good choice, because, or your invulns in general, is generally a good choice because your healers can save you from a raw tank buster. Obviously, it's not really, what's it called again? It's not encouraged, but push comes to the shove, you can still save the pool, right? And that's what matters the most, saving the pool. Okay. Let's go on to Blackfire. Recovery for Blackfire.
All right, here we go. The Fellruin.
Here, the dragons go away. She finds Nael. Walks towards Nael. A little star step. Supports break right. The Dragoon here dies. I think they were lagging. Here, it still picked 4 players for the DPS, or for the Mega Flare stack. And so it results in only 3 players for the towers. But the thing is that a Mega Flare stack can still take a tower because the Mega Flare stack does not apply a vuln. So in this case, this DPS up here, is cognizant that, oh, there's only 1 tower player on his side. So he takes the one closer to Nael, leaving the one closer to the party or the Mega Flare stack open. In this case, it makes it possible for the Mega Flare stack to take the tower easily. It is also possible to take the one closer to Nael, but it pretty much requires like a movement ability. So generally, just be cognizant if someone dies, try to take the one closer to Nael, and then the Mega Flare stacks can handle the rest. See, easy recovery. Okay, next one. This is Heaven's Fall. Foy Boy is L4, so he finds the dragons, goes opposite of Nael, dodges the Twister, baits the Mega Flare puddle, counts his tower, L4, gets knocked back. Oh no, someone died to the wall. Callie immediately LBs, and manages to save 2 healers. This is a pretty bad situation, but it's not entirely undoable. So here, they have 2 rezzers up, and one of them has a stack. We do not have enough people to to mitigate this stack damage right now. So in this case, this healer would sacrifice themselves. Foy Boy is a red mage, but he also can't res because he was rezzed inside the Hypernova. So he has to wait a little bit to res. Once he knows that it's going to go away as he reses, he accepts the res, and then he starts helping out with the reses. And so, again, Red Mage and Summoner are super important, or rather not super important, but super valuable, because they can help recover a lot of situations just by being there as an extra reser. If you're playing Red Mage or Summoner, please try to help your healers out as much as possible with reses. It is, like, if push comes to shove and you have to hardcast, do it. It is so much more important to recover than to hit the boss, because frankly, Bahamut Prime's DPS check is a joke nowadays. So please help your healers. This fight is very recoverable. I believe that is about it for what I wanted to cover, and we are just right about time. Just 2 minutes under. That's pretty good. Okay. I probably have missed some stuff, so I hope Foy covered it already, but I'm going to open it up to other people who want to speak for now. You want to say something, though?
Yeah. So just quickly, if you should be able to request to speak if you want to speak. Otherwise, you can toss any questions that you might have in the chat. If you have any further questions after this small question session, please feel free to toss them in the Golden Bahamut Summer Event chat and or the UCOB chat. Big thank you to Frey and Foy and Slurp, who spent a lot of time working on the script and VODs and all the notes and stuff for this lecture. So this is like not possible without them. Just as a reminder, before you hop into any parties this upcoming weekend for the trios, please make sure to review anything that you might need to review. The mit sheets, strats, any videos. This lecture is recorded and will be posted on Frey's Twitch channel. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or a request to speak. Yes, please do continue also to go into PF on your own. That is the most important part.
Oh, I do want to note, I had my browser's audio disabled in the first part of the stream. It shouldn't have been too important. Because you can open it's just Tessan's video and you can open that by yourself. I encourage you to open Tessan's video and watch it yourself because again, I don't want to leech off of them without contributing. So here is my formal invitation for you guys to watch Tessan's video because it's very good. Yeah. All right. If there's nothing else, so Cobb. This is a boost, but Foy, Azula, and I are going to do a Cobb party for Quick March and beyond. So if you guys want to join that, look out in PF because it's gonna happen now? Question mark.